Welcome to your July 3rd stimulus check update and second stimulus update, because we have some great information for you today. If you have SSI, SSA, VA benefits, or if you receive Direct Express, this is the video for you. Thank you. Hi, this is Corey, and welcome back to another Blind to Billionaire video. I'm so glad you're here, and if you would like to subscribe, that would be awesome. But basically what I want to do is I want to talk about the stimulus check, the $1,200 stimulus check, and the second stimulus, and kind of what to expect right now in terms of how things are going on July 3rd, 2020. So this is your stimulus update. So what I want to do today is I want to go over some commonly asked questions about the stimulus check. And these answers are coming from the IRS.gov website, and I feel like they'll be really helpful in terms of accurate information and in terms of where the heck is my stimulus, I have SSI, I have Direct Express, what's going on. So I'm hoping that these questions will be very helpful and good information for you. So let's get right into it. So the first question I want to answer is, why am I getting payment status not available on the Get My Payment tool? This is super common. We get this question a ton of times in the comments, and so I wanted to tell you what the IRS is saying. The Get My Payment application will return Get Payment status not available for several reasons, including that you were required to file a tax return, but we haven't finished processing your 2019 return. The application doesn't yet have your data. We're working on adding more data to allow more people to use it. You don't usually file a tax return, and you use non-filer enter payment info here, but we haven't processed your entry yet, or you're not eligible for a payment. If you receive payment status not available, you will not be able to provide direct deposit information at this time. We're working on updates to allow more people to use this feature. We update Get My Payment data once per day, overnight, so there's no need to check more often. If you are eligible for a payment and have provided your information either through a recent tax return or the non-filer's enter payment info here application, please check back for updates. So when you call the IRS, this is something that they talk about quite a bit, is that you won't necessarily get a different answer besides payment status not available until they've processed your information. So even though they should have processed it by now, even though it's like, what are we waiting for? That might be why it says it says payment status not available. It's because they just haven't processed it yet, but it doesn't mean you're not eligible. So I think that's something good to kind of know, and that's something that seems to be a really common kind of theme when people call the IRS about their specific situation. The next thing, we touched base on this a bit in a different video, but I wanted to read you exactly what the IRS website says about this. And it's if you had a payment issued, but it was lost, stolen, destroyed, or not received, what do you do? So the Get My Payment shows that the payment was issued, but I never received it. How do I get a new one? So if your payment was issued by direct deposit, your first step is to check with your bank to make sure they didn't receive a deposit. You should request a trace on your payment if Get My Payment shows your payment was issued on a specific date, but you have not received it and it has not been more than 5 days since the scheduled deposit date, 4 weeks since it was mailed by check to a standard address, 6 weeks since it was mailed, and you have a forwarding address on file with a local post office, or 9 weeks since it was mailed to you at a foreign address. The Get My Payment tool cannot be used to initiate a trace on your payment, but if you see there is a way to trace your payment on and then you can go to the IRS.gov website, and there's a spot where you can go through how to trace your payment to find out what's going on. The next thing I want to cover is about payment status. So how long will it take for my payment status or payment date to change? So if your payment status says, if you're getting payment status not available, updates to your payment status are made no more than once per day, usually overnight. For additional information, you can see the payment status not available below. So what they're basically saying is go ahead and check this every day, but you don't need to check it a bunch of times a day because it's not going to have changed. So just know that even though it'd be great if like you could check it more than once a day and you could get different information, this is really just like a once a day thing that you'll see an update. If you're receiving a payment status message without a payment date, then if you entered your bank account information into the Get My Payment any day until noon on Tuesday, your payment date should be available beginning the following Saturday in Get My Payment. I'm going to say that again. If you entered your bank account information in Get My Payment any day until noon on Tuesday, your payment should be available beginning the following Saturday in Get My Payment. If you entered your bank account information after noon on Tuesday, your payment date should be available beginning the Saturday after next in Get My Payment. Some people who entered their bank account information more than 2 weeks ago may not have received a payment date. We are working to resolve these issues. Keep checking Get My Payment for updates once a day. So I feel like that's actually kind of interesting too. So if you've got a payment status but no date, that's kind of what you can expect to do. You've got to enter in your bank account information. Now, if you don't have a bank account, that means that a paper check will be mailed or one of those, I can't think of the name like off the top of my head, which is awkward because I'm making a video. But it will come in like the form of like one of those debit cards. So if you don't have a bank account, that's what's going to happen, and it's going to take a little longer, but that's just good to kind of know. The next thing I want to talk about is, does Get My Payment display different stages of my payment? So I'm going to read and tell you what this says. Get My Payment will display one of the following payment statuses. 1. Payment status, one of two statuses. A payment has been processed, a payment date is available, and payment is to be sent either by direct deposit or mail, or you are eligible, but a payment has not been processed and a payment date is not available. The next thing that can happen, need more information. You are eligible for a payment, but we do not have your direct deposit information. You will be given the opportunity to provide your bank information once you have properly verified your identity. Direct deposit is the fastest way to get your check. Number 3, payment status not available. We cannot determine your eligibility for a payment at this time. So again, like we just talked about, that's one of the options. The last thing I want to talk about is for specifically people who receive a few different forms, but specifically, if you have SSI or VA benefits, or if you receive form SSA 1099 or RRB 1099. So I'm believing that's if you have Social Security, Real Retirement Benefits, SSI, or VA benefits. Can I use the Get My Payment to check my payment status? This has been something that Matt and I have talked about, and I think there's been some confusion back and forth with us, with the IRS, with just in general, like, can you use this? They said not to, then they said you can. So we're just kind of trying to figure it out. So this is the information into if you receive those benefits, can you check the payment status? So the deal is yes, you can use Get My Payment to check the status of your payment after you verify your identity by answering the required security questions. If you did not file a tax return for 2018 or 19, you can check your payment status when it's scheduled for delivery. However, you will not be able to use the Get My Payment to provide your bank account information. The IRS will use the information from SSA, RRB, SSI, or VA to generate your payment. You'll receive your payment as a direct deposit or by mail, just as you would normally receive your benefits. So just to cut in here, one of the things that we had heard initially was that you may not get your benefit payment the same day as your stimulus check, because they're trying to make sure that there's no confusion in terms of which is your stimulus check and which is your normal benefit check. So it may not come on the same day, but just to be aware. An example though of what they're saying is if your benefits are currently deposited to a Direct Express card, your stimulus will also be deposited to that card. If your benefits are currently deposited to your bank account, your stimulus will also be deposited to that account. If you are a Direct Express account holder, If you use the non-filer's Enter Payment Info tool to add your spouse or qualifying children, you cannot receive your payment on your Direct Express card. Doesn't really make sense, but that's okay. You must select a bank account for direct deposit or leave that bank information blank and receive the payment by mail. So I'm giving you those specific things to think about. There are a lot more questions, but some of them seemed obscure and some of them seemed less kind of pertinent to maybe like what we're doing on our channel, and like less common questions that were asked in our comment section. So we just wanted to tell you about like the 5 most frequently asked questions that we're seeing on the IRS.gov website, and we will give you as much information as we can. When we find more out about the second stimulus, we will let you know. There's not new updates yet, but when there is, we will be there for you, okay? So thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here, and we hope that you enjoyed this, and we'll come back again in the future. Have a nice day. Thank you.
You can't wait to see me now, 'cause lately